Mercedes-Benz has unveiled its new X-Class Ute, a model said to be the most powerful and polished pickup on sale. Capitalizing on the immense popularity of dual-cab four-wheel drive utes in Australia and beyond, Mercedes Commercial Vehicles division partnered with Nissan to build a Benz-badged ute based on the latest Navara. Available in 3 trim lines named Pure, Progressive, and Power, the X-Class is powered by a choice of 3 engines. Entry-level X220D and mid-grade X250D models get Nissan-sourced 2.3-liter 4-cylinder turbo diesel engines that offer 120 kW per 403 Nm and 140 kW per 450 Nm outputs in rear-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive layouts, combined with Nissan's 6-speed manual and 7-speed automatic transmissions. The 4-wheel drive X350D at the top of the range will be Australia's most powerful dual-cab ute, offering 190 kW and 550 Nm outputs thanks to a 3.0-litre turbo diesel V6 that pitches it above the 165 kW per 550 Nm Volkswagen Amarok V6 and 147 kW per 500 Nm Holden Colorado. Mercedes says 4-wheel drive versions will feature a low-range transmission along with the option of a rear differential lock. Keen to play down links to the Navara, Mercedes says the roof is the only body panel shared by Nissan in the X-Class, which has wider front and rear axles than its cousin. Mercedes also says it reworked the Navara's suspension, though it has retained the car's controversial coil-sprung rear end. The X-Class car-like cabin bears little in common with the Navara, borrowing technology and styling themes from the Mercedes-Benz road car range. The German ute also features modern safety gear including autonomous emergency braking, forward collision warning and lane-keeping assistance systems in combination with a suite of 7 airbags. While full Australian specifications have not been locked in, European variants will offer a weighting depth of up to 600 mm along with a peak payload over 1,000 kg as well as a 3.5-ton towing capacity. Mercedes is developing its own in-house range of accessories for the dual-cab-only X-Class, producing its own side steps, tonneau covers, rear canopy, bulbers and more. The new model goes on sale locally in November with Australian 4-cylinder deliveries starting early in 2018, followed by the V6 version later in the year.
Petrol variants of Audi's popular A4 and A5 models have been removed from sale across Europe as the firm seeks to get them retested using official fuel economy tests. Software updates made to the 3.0-liter TFSI V6 engine used in the S4 and S5 models means they're now thirstier than before, and Audi could be in trouble with EU regulators if it markets these cars without putting them through the official new European driving cycle test first. A mild hybrid system has been added to the 2.0-liter petrol, meaning this too is to be retested. Reports suggest that, although most manufacturers suggest this reduces fuel consumption, Audi has said the 12-volt system will actually make its A4 and A5 slightly heavier on fuel. A stop sale order was issued by the German government, reports motoring, and affects sales within all European Union countries. This is believed to include the UK, awaiting confirmation from Audi UK as to whether this is the case. Sales will be halted for 4 to 6 weeks until the affected cars can be retested for fuel economy and emissions. Audi is still suffering in the wake of the Dieselgate emissions scandal, so leaving it without petrol derivatives of two of its most popular models for nearly 2 months could hit sales hard. Last week, the German manufacturer held an inaugural Audi Summit event in Barcelona. During the show, it showcased its latest technology along with plans for the future and the new A8 luxury saloon. The upcoming Hyundai i30N is one of the most anticipated cars right now, and it is easy to understand why. The i30N will be Hyundai's first ever road legal sports car, and it promises a lot of power to offer. If that is not exciting enough, the i30N will not be making its debut alone, as the car is confirmed to get accompanied with the i30 Fastback. As how you can see in the picture above, the Fastback variant will have a sedan body style. Such a setup will give the i30 a wider market reach, as it can attract those that prefers a sedan over a hatchback. As how you can see in the picture above, the i30 Fastback has a nice blend of upmarket and sportiness to it. The proportions are also easy on the eye, and all that is left is for Hyundai to give the car the best performance around. If Hyundai can hit the right spot on fuel economy and power, we don't see why the i30 Fastback can't give the 10th generation Honda Civic a big fight. More details on the Hyundai i30 Fastback will surface when the car nears its debut early next year. Are you excited?
There's no denying it, the new car buyer is winning at the moment, in a big way. While the small car segment is showing signs of decline, there has never been as much buyer choice as there is right now. And it's especially the case if you're after a sporty hatch. Hyundai has fired out of the blocks with a brand new 2017 Hyundai i30 range, headlined, for now, by a pair of warm hatches that have spurred our interest. One of the most enticing is the Hyundai i30 SR manual, and we wanted to find out whether it's cheap and cheerful, or if there's more beneath the skin. To spot an i30 SR in traffic, you'll want to look for dual exhaust outlets, chrome highlights and SR badges. It's particularly impressive in premium trim, where LED elements take over the exterior and make it pop at night time. The SR range consists of the entry-level SR manual, as tested here, which starts from $25,950, plus on-road costs, and moves all the way through to the Senior Premium Automatic, which taps out at $33,950 plus on-road costs. Sporty alloy wheels show off a small set of brakes, while a hunkered-down stance signals the vehicle's sporty intentions. Hyundai will build on this design when the newly revealed i30N hot hatch is released later this year, a car that will go head-to-head with the likes of the Volkswagen Golf GTI. Inside the cabin, the racy theme continues with red seat and dashboard highlights, along with contrast stitching in the steering wheel. It's subtle, but quite nice, flagging the intentions lurking beneath the skin. Under the bonnet is a pumped-up turbocharged 4-cylinder petrol engine, producing 150 kilowatts of power and 265 Nm of torque. The 1.6-liter engine is mated to a 6-speed manual transmission. On the combined cycle, it consumes just 7.5 L/100 km with a manual gearbox. Hit the starter button and then well, it's actually not that exciting. In fact, it sounds almost identical to the starter motor noise of the old Hyundai gets. Instead of greeting the driver with a mild burble or splutter on start, it sounds incredibly docile and innocent, not ideal for a car meant to be a warm hatch. Unfortunately, lack of noise is a common theme amongst Korean cars. In fact, Kia's Australian arm is currently working overtime to ensure the Kia Stinger actually sounds good when it launches locally in September. Noise aside, it's a manual release of the emergency brake. Non-SR and non-manual i30 models use an electrically actuated emergency brake, and a slot into first gear before things get moving. The 6-speed manual is a relatively short shift, but it could be a touch shorter and more accurate. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with it, it'd just be nice to see a bit of sportiness in the gear shift to match the SR badge. Luckily the clutch is light enough for peak hour traffic, but easy enough to use for the occasional spurt of faster driving. Unlike the outgoing i30, the manual i30 SR doesn't have customizable steering feel. The previous generation could switch between 3 levels of steering weight. While the Senior Premium has switchable drive modes, the SR manual can only be driven in one mode. That also means most of the buttons that flank the gear lever are blank. These would otherwise be reserved for drive mode selection, steering wheel heater, not available in Australia, and a host of other features. This makes that area look a little cheap, but it's not the end of the world. All concerns about buttons and emergency brakes are thrown out the window the first time you assault the throttle. This thing has some serious pep. Give it a squeeze in any gear and the tough little engine begins hurling torque at the front wheels. Line up a set of corners and the i30 SR really comes to life. The direct and communicative steering gives you the raw elements of a fun hatch, while the sharp throttle response helps keep the engine on the boil. The brakes are excellent too, responding eagerly with each application. At the top end of the rev range the exhaust really comes to life too. While it doesn't have the crackle and pop of many more expensive hot hatches, it's still emotive and fun, especially during a quick gear shift. One thing that will begin irritating you very quickly is how intrusive the stability control is. If you take off too quickly in first, you'll see that evil traction control light flashing before it immediately cuts torque and leaves you in a dead spot for what feels like an eternity. Be a little eager on the throttle out of a corner and the inside wheel tries to spin up, which awakens the will spin nannies. A relaxed tune would have really made this car so much more enjoyable to drive closer to its limits. With that said, the i30 SR is exceptional to drive over any surface. Unlike the non-SR i30 range, SR models come with independent rear suspension, which helps the car track true over bumpy surfaces. A torsion beam rear suspension design uses a spring and shock absorber attached to each of the non-driven rear wheels. Then, a torsion beam attaches to a lower arm that houses both the spring and shock absorber. The advantages of this suspension setup are that it reduces the amount of underbody space required, it's cheaper to produce, and it weighs less than an independent suspension setup. Independent rear suspension, on the other hand, like that seen on the Australian Spec SR, aims to isolate each wheel from the other, but adds extra complexity, weight and cost. Both the torsion beam and independent rear suspension setups have received extensive tunes for the Australian market, as reported here, with both torsion beam setups custom tuned for their particular engine calibration. Around the city, visibility is excellent and the rear view camera is good. The new 8.0-inch infotainment system is absolutely excellent and comes loaded with features like Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, along with a very fast and accurate inbuilt satellite navigation system. Strangely though, voice commands don't work unless you have your phone paired to the car with a cable. Most other cars in this segment allow you to issue navigation or telephone commands using voice. The Hyundai system only allows this one paired with Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Rear legroom is good, but SR models miss out on rear air vents, due to the space taken up by the manually operated emergency brake. That aside, both SR models come with a dual-zone climate control as standard and offer 395 liters of cargo capacity, which expands to 1301 liters with a second row folded flat. In keeping with the rest of the Hyundai range, the i30 lineup comes with a 5-year, unlimited kilometer warranty and affordable capped price servicing, which costs $807 over 3 years if you average 10,000 kilometers a year, or $1,820 if you average 20,000 kilometers a year. Which i30 SR model would we pick? Well, I'm a sucker for both safety equipment and fun features, so I'd be going for the senior premium. But, if you're content to compromise on potentially life-saving safety equipment, the i30 SR manual represents incredible value for money.